Back when I was 19, I worked night security at a storage facility just outside my hometown. It wasn't the kind of job people wanted for long. The pay was decent, but the hours were terrible, and the place itself gave off a weird feeling after dark. The facility sat at the edge of an industrial area surrounded by empty lots and patches of woods. During the day, it looked normal enough. Rows of orange storage doors, chain-link fences, security cameras, and floodlights. But at night, especially, after midnight, the entire area felt isolated from the rest of the world. There were only 3 employees total. The manager, an older woman named Denise, a maintenance guy named Carl, and me. Before my first overnight shift, Denise walked me through the office and explained the routine. Most of the job was simple. Sit in the office, monitor the cameras, and every hour drive the golf cart around the property, checking for break-ins. Then, right before she left, she said something strange. She told me if I ever noticed Unit 214 open after midnight, I should call her immediately and stay inside the office. I laughed because I assumed she was joking. She didn't laugh back. I asked her what was in Unit 214. She just shrugged and said, "Nothing anymore." That answer stuck with me. The first few weeks on the job were uneventful. Boring, honestly. I'd sit in the office watching movies on my phone while occasionally checking the monitors. Sometimes I'd see raccoons running along the fence or headlights passing on the highway nearby, but that was about it. The only creepy thing about the place was the noise. Storage facilities make sounds constantly at night. Metal doors popping from temperature changes, wind rattling loose panels, pipes creaking underground. At least that's what I told myself. Around my 3rd week, I started noticing something odd on the security cameras. Every night around 2 a.m., Camera 7 would briefly flicker. Camera 7 overlooked the far end of the property near Unit 214. The flicker only lasted maybe a second, but it happened consistently. One night, I finally decided to drive over there during my patrol. The farther I got from the office, the darker the facility became. The floodlights didn't fully reach the back rows, and several bulbs had burned out completely. When I reached the row containing Unit 214, I immediately noticed something wrong. The unit door was slightly open, not wide open, just enough to leave a thin black gap visible beneath the handle. I actually remember feeling annoyed more than scared. I assumed some customer forgot to lock it properly. I parked the cart and walked over with my flashlight. The air around that row felt colder than the rest of the property. As I got closer, I noticed scratches all over the metal door. Long vertical scratches. At first, I thought maybe somebody had tried prying the door open. Then I realized the scratches were on the outside, like something had clawed at the metal from within the unit. That should have been enough to make me leave. Instead, I grabbed the handle and pulled the door open. The smell hit instantly. Rotten mildew, mixed with something sour underneath. My flashlight beam swept across the inside of the unit. It was empty, completely empty, except for a single wooden chair, sitting in the middle of the concrete floor. I stood there confused for several seconds. Then I noticed the chair was facing the back wall, not toward the entrance, toward the wall. That detail unsettled me more than it should have. I quickly shut the door and locked it. When I got back to the office, I called Denise and asked why the unit was empty. There was a long silence on the phone. Then she asked me if I went inside. I told her I only opened the door for a second. She sounded irritated and told me not to go near it again if it opened. I asked her what the big deal was. She finally explained. Years earlier, before she managed the place, a man had rented Unit 214. Apparently, he'd lost his wife and daughter in a car accident. According to Denise, he slowly lost his mind afterward. Employees noticed he spent entire nights sitting inside the storage unit alone in the dark. Eventually, he stopped paying rent, and management went to remove his belongings. They found the unit almost completely empty except for that chair and the man hanging from the ceiling. I remember getting chills when she told me that. She said, after that incident, employees started reporting weird things around the unit. Sounds coming from inside, the door opening on its own, motion sensors triggering when nobody was there. I told her that was ridiculous even then, though I couldn't stop thinking about the chair. The next few nights were normal. Then things escalated. Around 2:15 one morning, all the cameras briefly cut out. Every single monitor went black for maybe 3 seconds. When the feeds returned, Camera 7 showed Unit 214 wide open. My stomach dropped instantly. I grabbed the golf cart keys but hesitated before leaving the office. Something felt wrong. I finally forced myself to go check it out. The facility was dead silent as I drove toward the back rows. No wind. No traffic sounds. Nothing. When I turned the corner toward Unit 214, I froze. The unit door was open nearly all the way, and someone was sitting in the chair inside. I slammed the brakes so hard the golf cart skidded sideways. The figure sat completely motionless in the darkness. I couldn't make out details, only the outline of a person facing the back wall, exactly like the chair had been before. I sat there staring for what felt like forever. Then the figure slowly tilted its head sideways. Not enough to see its face, just enough to let me know it heard me. I threw the golf cart into reverse immediately. As I backed away, the overhead floodlight above the unit flickered on for half a second, and in that instant, I saw the figure standing outside the unit, right beside my cart. I still don't fully remember what it looked like, only that it was tall, extremely thin, and pale enough that it almost reflected the light. Then the floodlight died again. Sped back to the office, shaking so hard I could barely steer. The second I got inside, I locked the door and checked the monitors. Camera 7 was just static. I called Denise again. This time she sounded genuinely nervous. She told me to stay inside the office until sunrise and ignore any sounds outside. I asked her if she actually believed the place was haunted. She paused before answering. Then she told me something she'd apparently never told anyone else. About a year after the suicide, another night guard quit suddenly after claiming he saw a man standing near Unit 214 during his patrols. A week later, they found that guard dead in his apartment. Self-inflicted. After hearing that, I barely slept during my shifts anymore. Every little sound made me jump. And every single night around 2 a.m., Camera 7 flickered. Then came the worst night. There was a thunderstorm rolling through town, and the power kept surging. Rain hammered the roof so hard it sounded like rocks hitting metal. Around 1:50 a.m., the office lights briefly dimmed. Then all the cameras shut off. Not flickered, completely dead. The backup generator failed too. I sat there in total darkness, listening to the storm outside. Then I heard it. 3 loud knocks on the office door. I nearly jumped out of my chair. Nobody should have been there. The facility gates were locked. Another 3 knocks echoed through the office. Heavy. I grabbed my flashlight and aimed it toward the glass door. At first I saw nothing. Then lightning flashed outside, and standing directly outside the office door was a man, tall and skinny, with soaked clothing hanging off his body. His face looked unnaturally pale. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring past me into the office. Another flash of lightning illuminated him. This time he slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the back of the property. Toward Unit 214. The power suddenly returned. The office lights snapped back on. The man was gone. I immediately checked camera 7. The unit door stood open again, but this time there was something different. The chair was gone. I don't know why, but that terrified me more than anything else. I called Denise and told her I was quitting. She didn't even argue. She just told me to wait until sunrise before leaving the office. I agreed. About 20 minutes later, while staring at the monitors, movement appeared on camera 7. Someone walked into frame. The tall man. He slowly entered Unit 214 and disappeared inside. A second later, the metal door slammed shut on its own. Then camera 7 permanently cut to static. I never went back after that night. A few months later, the entire storage facility was sold and demolished to make room for warehouses. Tried forgetting about the whole experience. Then, about 2 years ago, I ran into Carl, the old maintenance guy, at a gas station. We talked for a while, and eventually I asked him if he remembered Unit 214. The expression on his face changed immediately. He told me something I'd never heard before. During demolition, workers broke apart the concrete floor inside the unit. Buried underneath was another chair, old and rotted, bolted directly into the concrete, facing downward toward a sealed hatch beneath the floor. According to Carl, nobody could get the hatch open. The demolition company eventually filled the entire area with concrete and built over it. Before we left, I asked him one last question. I asked if he thought somebody had really been inside the unit that night. Carl stared at me for several seconds before answering. Then he quietly said something that still bothers me every time I think about it. He said the cameras never showed anyone entering or leaving Unit 214. Not once.